So Estonian LGBT Association is, we're mainly focused on advocacy work. So this is advocacy is like trying to change the laws to get the people like the politicians and also the general public to understand why we need to change the laws, because many people don't understand. They think it's just like, oh, they just want things, but there are actual need for these things, and not having proper laws have consequences, like really severe consequences in people's lives sometimes. And also like just the public opinion, working with that as well. So this is like our main focus, but we do trainings for all kinds of specialists that work with LGBT people, like teachers, healthcare workers, youth workers, people like that. And then we have peer support, legal support for people, and psychological support. And we have support groups that come here and meet. So we have also, we're working with the media. So we have like many different things that we do. And yeah, we also organize prides. First of what work we did, well, the most important thing is to get people to understand what the problem is. So you have to talk with all kinds of politicians and make them see that this is not just some random issue, but this has real consequences in people's lives, and it really needs to be changed. And if you change the laws, like so many people's lives change for the better. So it's not just beautiful words, but it is beautiful words, and that also matters. Like the way we talk about people, but it also has like very deep, real consequences in people's lives. For example, like what rights you have as a parent for your child, or as partners to each other. There were very problematic situations where there were partners who were raising a child together. They wanted to adopt the child, and their problem was that they had gotten married somewhere else in the world. But Estonia as a state, we didn't have marriage equality. So we as a state said like, okay, you're not married. But then they thought like, okay, then we will do the cohabitation. But when they went to do that, then they were told like, well, you can't do that anymore because you're already married to each other. So they couldn't do anything. They were just stuck between, there was no good regulation there. They had marriage in a way, but they didn't have marriage in a way, like being married to each other only took the rights away in Estonia. So that kind of problems are not here anymore because we have marriage equality. And yeah, so like we also had people who couldn't bring their partners to Estonia because they, especially when it got harder to bring partners from Russia because of the occupation of Ukraine. And then in the laws it said like you can bring your partner, but only a marriage partner. So if you're cohabitating, then you can't bring your partner. So it was like very strong discrimination there. Like for one part of the society, you only allow them to cohabitate and not get married. And then in the other laws, you say like, oh, but these things are only for married people. So very strongly, you are just pushing one part of the society away. So now with marriage equality, you can't really do this in such a subtle way. You would really have to like write out in the open, like this only applies to male and female couple, for example. So it's very open when you want to discriminate. You can't say like, oh, it only applies to married people and not for cohabiting. I think it very much depends on the politicians. So if they are supportive politicians, then it's much easier to get them to understand that this is important. If the politicians have some homophobia, then it's also harder to convince them that that they need to help gay people because they might not want to. So I think lots of politicians are actually somewhere in the middle. So they are the most important people to talk to because they often just lack information. So if you really let them see the reality of what people face in their lives, then it's much easier to get them on board. Well, people can get married now. So that is the huge change. And also the people who were married before, who had gotten married somewhere abroad, their marriage now is legal in Estonia. So that's a big change. Yeah. So when you have partner from some other country, they will be seen as a family member. And yeah, also the acts for the cohabitation law were passed. So also the people who are going to choose the cohabitation, they are also better protected. And that goes for same-sex couples or couples with a man and a wife. They both can choose what do they want. Do they want marriage or do they want to cohabitate? Yeah, all kinds of problems that we had to face, like the legal problems. People had they disappeared. For example, the partners that wanted to adopt their child that couldn't because they were married to each other in some other place. Well, they can now. So yeah, many things changed, and these are like everyday problems that people have, but it's also the mentality. Like right now, from the highest part, like the government is, and the parliament has said that you are equal. We don't see you as like the second-hand citizens or like the second class anymore. And that is mentally like a very supportive thing. And in America, they did a study on the states that had passed marriage equality and how it changed suicide rates among teenagers. And the suicide rates dropped in every state that passed marriage equality. So teenagers are not the ones who are going to get married tomorrow, but they feel it. They feel that the state is behind them and they are supported and they are accepted. So it really has a major influence on mental health in general. And I think it's also how we view Estonia as a country as well. Like, I think now we are closer to the Western world than we were before. So and they view us as more open and accessible and like more like us. And I think that is very, very important as well. So that is important for everybody, not just LGBT people. Already last year, there was a poll that before marriage equality was passed that showed that 53% of people supported marriage equality. So it was more than half of the population that supported it. Then you also have the people who are undecided, and then you have the people against it. I don't remember what the percentage of people were who were against it. So more than half were already supporting it. And in other countries, you can see when marriage equality is passed, the numbers start to go up very fast. Because you see that nothing really changes in your life. Nothing gets worse. And some people get to live more free. So people see like, actually that was a good decision. And they start supporting it. I don't know what the numbers are at the moment because I don't think there is a study at the moment. But yeah, we can definitely expect a jump in support there. We also had a jump on ILGA Europe Rainbow Map. The Rainbow Map is a map that shows different countries in Europe and rates their policies on LGBTQ plus rights. So right now we have 46% there, which doesn't sound like much, but there is no country in the whole map that has 100%. So every country has somewhere to go, and 46% for the area that we are at is actually a very good result. So if you look at Latvia and Lithuania, they are really lacking support that we have in Estonia. And their percentage is much, much lower. There are many issues that still need to be faced and many things that need to be changed, but I think this is like a major jump. And historically, when we talk about countries and their development, often what is mentioned is when they passed marriage equality. So I think this year is something for the history books. The safety is what do you compare it to? It's if you compare it to the Western countries, then it's a bit less safe. But it also depends on very much on where you are, and who are the people around you. So, and there is this, you can live a life that is feels quite safe here, but then there's this extra stress, the minority stress, which is basically that all the time you carry this possibility in your head that something could happen. Like when you're walking on the streets, then do you dare to hold your partner's hand or not? In Estonia, I don't see many same-sex couples holding hands. Sometimes you see some, but when you go to Brussels, for example, the picture is totally different. You see so many more people, same-sex couples holding hands. So you can, I think that is a very good indicator whether people feel safe or not. So in our streets, not that many people dare to show their affection publicly. But all in all, I think, it so much depends who are the people around you. Like, is your family supportive? If you go to school, then is your school supportive? How are your teachers? How are the students in your class? So the experiences are so dramatically different. For some, it's like, I don't have any problems. And for some, it's so hard. And they are like fighting to stay alive every day. So it's very, very different for different people. Yeah, to increase the level of security, we need to continue talking about these issues. Marriage equality is not going to magically just fix every problem, because we need people to understand what being LGBT is and what the problems are that we face, and to take bullying very seriously and to like tackle it at the root, not only when it has gotten really out of hand. So yeah, in Estonia, for example, we don't even know how much hate crime we have because police doesn't really write it down. They don't keep track on hate crime. So we need to start doing things like that so we can show, like, we don't even know what the situation is when we don't take notes and don't take statistics there. Also, the media has to think about how they portray LGBT people, because it's such a big difference whether you portray LGBT people as same as everybody. Like if you make some TV show, do you have LGBT characters? Like you have them in the world, you have them everywhere, but somehow when you think about should I have them in my TV show, then it's like, like what for? Like just because they are here, they are part of the Estonian world, so we should be visible in other places as well. Yeah, like if you statistically think about how many people we have in Estonian society, and then think about how many LGBT people we see in Estonian films or TV shows, we don't really see LGBT characters. So if people ask like, but why should I have an LGBT character in my show? I would like to ask like, but why shouldn't you have? Like right now, it seems like you are pushing them out. You're not open. You think there needs to be some extra reason to have them, but just we are here, so we should be seen the same as everybody else. Pride Month is a good way to talk about LGBT issues, because that's talking about it is the only way we can get people to change their minds and to get people to understand. In a very funny way, when we had politicians in the government who were very strongly anti-LGBT plus people, then we were talking about those issues a lot. And when we look at the statistics, then actually the supporting numbers were going up because we were talking about this issue and people were thinking and people were changing their minds. So Pride Month is a way to bring out those issues and for everybody to take a moment and think like, what could I do to make it better? What could I do in my school, at my workplace, maybe in my family? Like to just take a moment and think about those issues. Each country already had started to have prides in their own capitals. And then the organizations met up in Sigulda, and they thought like we should do it together. And then the Baltic Pride idea came about, and it started. The first Baltic Pride was in Riga, and then it started to go between the three nations. Yeah, so every third year we get a Baltic Pride in Tallinn. Every third year they get it in Riga, and so on. I think it was a very good organization to do it this way, especially at the time, because it's first of it's good to have the Baltics working together more, because I think we have this knowledge that we are Baltic states, but we don't really organize together that much. We don't have that many connections. So I think it's a very good way to really feel the Baltics as one group. And at that time, I think having a huge event every third year also made sense. Now it's changing. People are really demanding to have something every year. So in very many places there are Baltic Prides, but on the years that you don't have Baltic Pride, you have the local prides. And also in Estonia, we have started to organize things between in the years between. Like this year, we have Tartu Pride, and before that, we have had like Velo Pride, which was like Pride on bicycles in Tallinn. So there are like different things, but Baltic Pride is bigger. So you have more events and people coming in from other countries as well. Right now, the organizing goes really well between the three countries, and I just came back 2 days ago from Riga, from the Baltic Pride there. I think the change was really big. I think there were many different things that played into it, but there were so many more people. In Estonia, actually, there were prides in the beginning, and then at 2007, the situation got really violent, and they stopped having pride parades as such. There was still the Pride Festival, but it didn't have the parades because that was the place where the clashes took place. So there was like 10-year pause, and then in 2017 there was a Pride Parade. There it was about 1,800 people, something like that. And then again we had a pause because of COVID. And so we didn't really know what to expect last year, like how many people would show up. We saw that the attitudes in the society have changed a lot. So we knew like we will have more people, but we had no way of knowing like how much more. And it was somewhere between 7,000 or 8,000. So it's such a huge change. And the feeling at Pride was so much different. Before it was kind of a protest. It was very strongly a protest, and there was so much. Last year there was so much happiness and expectation from people because everybody were waiting for the marriage equality to come, because it was just a few days later that it came, and everybody were so waiting for it, and all the banners were like, I want to dance at a gay wedding and things like that. So there was lots of elevated feelings and joy in there. And the whole thing felt different. It was really like a joyous festival. And it for the first time, Pride felt like it would be in the West, like what it is in the Western world, like a celebration of love instead of protest, where you also had anxiety of will the haters show up and what could possibly happen. So the feeling was very different there. We have had like some events like the Velo Pride, and we have also not concentrated only on Tallinn, because we are also the ones who are organizing the Pride in Tartu, together with Tartu organizations. We want this to move around a bit more, so it's not only Tallinn centric. And we haven't really talked about the plans for next year. I think we should, but I think everybody's still thinking about the Tartu Pride at the moment. So we haven't sat down and thought about what happens next year. But the expectation for people is there. So I don't think we can get away with just ignoring 1 year. I think we do need to do something because people really expect it. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the huge issues is trans rights, because right now there are many problems in getting hormone replacement therapy. And the waiting times are too long, and we know that the people, the suicide rates among trans people are so much higher. So it is very problematic when we make the time longer and make them wait longer, because there's such a high risk of suicides during that time. And it's really unfair to have that kind of limits there. Yeah, so right now we are trying to get the politicians and the medical committee who is doing this to understand that something really has to happen, so the waiting times go down. Because the waiting times, they don't even come from the way we have organized like our laws or something. They come just because basically the medical committee comes together too rarely. And that makes the waiting times really long. So it's not that hard to actually fix it. People really need to understand the problem and need to get behind to find the solutions for it. Yeah. Other questions about trans rights as well, but this I think is the most burning one, because yeah, really people's lives are at risk here. But in generally, to talk about those issues, to do more trainings for people, because we understand that, like we have a survey that shows how medical professionals, they don't have enough knowledge on those issues. They don't understand enough, and in school they don't study it. So now they later on have to find the knowledge by themselves somewhere, and we know that they don't have lots of free time to do that. So yeah, if we could get those issues in the curriculums somewhere for healthcare workers, for teachers, youth workers, then that would be a very great step forward, because we can't train everybody. That's just not humanly possible. There's too few of us working here. And it really needs to come from schools training professionals. And the professionals themselves are saying that we need this knowledge, and we are lacking it right now. So it's not only us saying that it is needed. Professionals also say, like, we would like to know more. Yeah, again, talking about it in public, that's a main thing. So people would understand the subjects better, and there's so much misinformation going around. So people sometimes are afraid of LGBT people because they have heard some rumors how in some ways somebody could be dangerous or something that really, like, if you look at the science, if you look at the reality, nothing backs up those rumors. It's just a rumor, but it's very easy to get people scared when you tell them rumors. Like the situation right now is you are supposed to talk about these topics because you are like kids need to hear about everything in the society, and that is just basic education. But in reality, I think in very many schools, those subjects are ignored, and even worse, there are teachers that are like spreading homophobia and transphobia in schools. When we had a study done in 2018 on the situation in our schools, then the information that came out there was really depressing. More than half of the people who answered us had heard like homophobic or transphobic comments from their teachers. So it's more than half from their teachers. This is like it's unbelievable that such numbers are here. I hope it has changed, but yeah, then how can you give good education when you have views like this yourself? And also the problem, like those teachers who are homophobic and transphobic, are they going to really stop the bullying of LGBT people if they see it? Because they might think like, yeah, but that's normal. Like, yeah, this is something that should happen. So the situation in schools really has to change, and it has to change from the teacher side, because they are responsible for everything that happens in schools. And also something from there, like 21% of the students said that they are not going to school at least one day a month, because the way to school or their time in school or their way back home is unsafe for them. So if we want people in school studying, we really need to face these issues. It's so many times that you hear like, oh, but it's not something for the schools. Like, that's the private life. It shouldn't be talked about in schools. But when you have students who literally don't go to school because it's not safe for them, you can't say that's not a school issue. It is. It's a very central school issue, and we really need to talk about it. And it has to start from educating the teachers. I don't know if that is necessary. I think it would be much better if LGBT subjects, or if it was part about every different subject you have in school, because everybody can bring it up. You can talk about literature and LGBT issues. You can talk about history and LGBT issues. So everybody can bring it in from their own perspective. You can talk about geography and LGBT issues. So it should be something that goes through every subject. You can even do it in math class, actually. You have to think about what is my connection there. And I think then it would really make it like a very natural subject to talk about. If we only have it in one class and everywhere else we ignore it, then it can really make it seem like that's a separate issue from the general public spaces. But it isn't. It's everywhere around us. And right now we are kind of just ignoring it, especially when you take literature. You have, in Estonia, you have people we talk about in schools, writers, and we never mention that they might be LGBT, or in history, like major historic characters, and we never mentioned that they were LGBT. And then you have people saying like, oh, but it's a new issue. No, it isn't. But that's because we never talk about it in schools. We never say like, oh, by the way, this historical character, they were in a same-sex partnership, or they wrote poems about same-sex people, like love poems. So if we ignore it and if we push it out from everyday subjects that we have at school, then that's why we have those feelings like it's a new issue and it's like a separate issue and shouldn't be in schools. No, it should be everywhere in schools, like regular life. Yeah, like right now we just assume that everybody will learn about are cisgendered heterosexual, but they are not. We learn about the people, but nobody ever says that, oh, by the way, they are LGBT. There are lots of people who are doing amazing things that make the world better for LGBT people. And often you work a lot and you don't get recognized for this. And people are burning out and feel that they give so much, but they get little back. So we really wanted to take this moment to show how we appreciate the people who are doing those things and how much they really mean to us. So we started to give out this Rainbow Hero Award to show how much those steps really mean to us, that those people have taken. And there are very different people who get the awards and very different work that they have done. And often people themselves, they don't even maybe understand how much it means. Like they just did something that was necessary, but they don't really know how big it is, what they have done and how much it means.